Good day everyone, Lab here. So, the latest event is at full swing, bringing us more information regarding the secretive nation of Jan, the mentality of the three siblings, and even the resentment other pheromones felt towards both Jan and Sui itself. Definitely an event full of information to read all over. So what better moment to talk about alters? As of right now, the newest event in ZN, So Long Adele, gave us our second batch of 2 alters in a single event, though this time around only one is limited. While some refer to alters as the end of Arknights as a whole, I personally don't mind them, granted, so long they actually develop the characters beyond.
But she's got a new hat.
However, development theorizing is not in my ballpark. I will rather leave that to the more informed members in the community. Nope. What I theorize about is lore and psychology. Yes, I still do those. Eventually. Thus, this video's main topic, possible alters. For ill or good, they are still something many expectantly await whenever a new special announcement is made in CL. Language barrier be damned. So it's only fair I update the parameters regarding which operators can be candidates for the alter treatment. Not to mention my first video talking about them is still to this date my most watched video, so might as well try and see if lightning strikes twice. Things will be different this time though. I will not be ranking the operators regarding the possibility of them getting an alter, since the order of my previous video seems to be completely out of whack, but rather examine the criteria needed for an alter to be made in the first place, with a small list of candidates that could get this coveted status through said criteria. With that out of the way, let us start with what I like to call the obvious ones. Pretty much every unit with 3 star or less will go in this list. Your A-teams, your reserve operators, heck, even the robots can be candidates. My reasoning behind this is that, as shown by most of A1 and the Manhunt trio, the low rarity units have the possibility to earn their alter as a way to improve the unit and develop their story in one fell swoop. And while I really enjoy what they have done with Team A1 so far, I really hope the rest doesn't get the crossover treatment. I mean, I'm still pulling for Yato and Noir, but I will prefer their stories to develop independently of third parties. Following next is a criteria that I didn't take that much into consideration last time, and that is how weak a unit is. While this has been fixed with operators modules, some characters are so underwhelming, either due to their design or the general branch they belong to, that there seems to be no other way to help but for them to jump into another branch/archetype. Here we could find our Flamebringers, our Suginogis, and even our Quartz. However, I would also like to mention that, while not impossible, this might be the hardest criteria to be taken into consideration by Hypergriff, as I will explain later down the line. Now, returning to my original video, we have the most obvious one out of the bunch, that being story potential. Characters with an obvious story plot waiting to be explored and, inevitably, gain a new form. Again we have characters like Siege, Blaze, and Laplant, who have been stated long ago, or recently as for the last one, that there are parts of the story waiting to be developed. But there are also newcomers like Firewatch, Project Red, and Estelle, characters with a hinted future development which could make them candidates for an alter. Next, we have the group I originally had the A-teams on, Time Development, as no matter how different agents age compared to humans, kids will inevitably grow up. Here we have characters who will one day grow into young adults, and thus leave behind the young form they debuted with. TLDR, here goes all the kids in Rhodes Island. We even got our very first example of this group in Grey the Lighting Bearer. So here we can find Susuran, Shamare, Bubble, Popukar, etc. My hopes are that, when they do grow up, they manage to grow into individuals who manage to avoid the mistakes of those before them. Coming up next is the one easier to exemplify yet hardest to explain: alternative timelines. Like with the previous group, there is only one character so far who fits this criteria, and the very first alter to be released, Skadi the Corrupting Heart. The hard part about explaining this is, well, what counts as an alternative timeline. In context, and copying a page from Futurama, it could be as simple as having every coin tossed land on a different head. But then how did we stop getting clogged with the possibilities? And how far can this be stretched so it is still considered canon? Not to mention, how can this be different than saying all fanfics out there also count? See the problem? Because of how messy this criteria can be, I'm afraid I cannot choose someone to become a literal alter, besides Mizuki and Amiya. The first one could go just as Sculptor, with him being a possible version of him from the timeline where he fused with the origin pulse, and thus excusing his alter form. The second, well, there is the last Wendigo's prophecy. Amiya could become the end of the world, and while we don't know if this will become true, it gives ground enough, for me at least, to say that our beloved daughter could also be a candidate for becoming an alter, from a time where she never reunited with the Doctor, and went full Tallulah on the world. Terra's very own Demon Lord. Yes, I know that happened in the crossover with Cytus too, but that one isn't canon as far as I know, so it doesn't count. Next are the criteria derived from 3 characters that completely blindsided my previous predictions: Silence the Pragmatic, Executor the Expoetere, and most recently, Swire the Elegant. From this, I gathered the next criteria. Silence Alter shows how even when said in passing, if an operator establishes a desire to grow or realize something in some way, chances are they might be able to grow as a result of said determination. Also, that while a group can have an overarching plot, it doesn't mean only the main characters can be electable for the alter treatment, as everyone can be fair game. The possible alters we can get from here are without a doubt those from groups we are still waiting development for. Gomi and Istina for the Ursus Girls, Clifford and Courier from Kid and Vanilla from the Black Steel Girls. I didn't mention Jessica since she will get an alter. Note that this doesn't mean that main characters from each group are not electable for the alter treatment, only that the everyone counts criteria can also make minor characters of the groups viable for the alter treatment. Moving on to Executor's case. This was a bit trickier to analyze, since absolutely nothing in his background hinted at such a development. At most, it was said how much of a machine he seems to be. However, this is what sneakily marked him as an alter, being the perfect candidate to receive the power-up in turn. Perfect candidate for short. As his neutral, overly pragmatic way to approach things is what made him worthy of the title of Saint, or rather to carry the throne given to him by the Pope himself. I won't get into spoilers, but just know that this little black box is more than meets the eye. With this new criteria properly established, we can now see other characters with similar hidden characteristics waiting to receive an alter, those being the returning Mir and Andreana, but also adding characters like Moose, Earth Spirit, Tilopsis, and Whisper Rain. However, I will also admit that, given how loose this criteria is, this might be the second less possible criteria Hypergriff could go with, or at the very least, the hardest characters to predict. Finally, we arrive to Swire's case, which is the one I believe will predominate most of the future candidates for an alter, that being sheer popularity. While not strong, Miss Bellatrix is still very well known and beloved by the community, so while she could have been added to the weak unit criteria, there is one special distinction in her design, which is something almost everyone following Summer events dreaded the instant her alter was revealed. That being, cool character designs, which never make it into skins, could be sold to us as alters. This was the reason a small raid occurred in CN when Chen Alter was released, and despite Hypergriff's best promises, we can't deny that this kind of units sell, especially if it's from a very popular unit. So here we might find Blaze in a swimsuit, Jen in a suit, yes she could get yet another alter, Hoshi in street clothes, that in a trench coat, etc. It doesn't matter if the unit is already strong. If the community clamors for a certain design and said character is very popular, that already placing them at the top of the list. This is the criteria which could mess up with the weaker units, as no matter how much the developers might want to help them, if another unit is sure to make them more money, the choice will be obvious. Or at least, that's what the economics dictate. I do hope to be wrong though. After all, Hypergriff has proven repeatedly that they are not like every other game developer out there. But people say the same from Hello Games and CD Projekt Red. Only time will tell. But for now, I see this one as the strongest criteria to look out for when expecting new alters. Like I said, I don't mind alters either way, so long the character can be properly developed, and the world building keeps moving forward. But what do you think? Do you think there could be another criteria for alters? Be sure to share them in the commentaries down below. As always, I would love to read them and see what other ideas we can come up with. For now, this has been Taktablab, thanking you all for your time. As well a huge thank you to Andrew Leknowski, as well to Saint, for the music you are listening in the background. Links in the description for those looking for a new favorite musician. I'm being even more grateful for your constant support. In fact, it is thanks to Saint's support that not only I managed to reach the 1k goal, I also managed to get the thank you feature unlocked as well. So I got yet another incentive to make great content for everyone. Arknight community, gaming community, psychology community. So long you enjoyed your time here, I will feel more than energized to continue this hobby of mine. But if you feel like leaving a tip, I won't say no. I'm a humble blob making my way in the cyberspace after all. So, please feel free to like, share and subscribe. Join my Discord for a chilling time. Or, si habla español, seguir el canal de rol yo y mis despistados amigos tenemos aparte. Whichever you choose to do, I will forever be grateful either way. And until next time, stay healthy everyone.